Hi, welcome back. This is Kirsten, and I'm Heather.
And this is my MeMaw's kitchen.
And today we're going to make butter tarts. And this recipe actually belonged to my mom. But butter tarts started in Canada, and actually they have recipes dating all the way back to the early 1900s. Now my grandmother was Scottish and my grandfather was English, and they actually made their own version of tarts in both of those countries as well. But today we're going to follow my mom's recipe right down to the letter. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with 1 cup of brown sugar. And just in case you're wondering, this recipe is going to be on mynibblesdesserts.com webpage later on this afternoon. It'll include the recipe for the pastry shells as well, but today, to save time, we're going to use some prepackaged shells. Now when you put your brown sugar in and when you're measuring it out, when it says 1 cup, make sure that it's 1 cup, a solid 1 cup. You have to be able to put it out on the counter and have it hold its shape. That's how you know. So really pack it in there good. So 1 cup of brown sugar. Now my mom's recipe actually calls for a blob of butter the size of an egg. Now I don't really know what that is, but I'm going to guess it's about 3 tablespoons. So we're going to add 3 tablespoons of butter into the brown sugar mixture, and we're going to cream it together until it's really soft. We'll be right back to show you the rest of it. Good afternoon. This is Kirsten, and I'm Heather.
And this is my MeMaw's kitchen.
Yes, it is. And today we're going to make butter tarts. And this recipe actually belonged to my mom, who was Canadian. But butter tarts actually came from England and Scotland. There's all kinds of different variations. But the version we're going to make today is the Canadian version, which was my mother's favorite. And my dad is actually the one who asked me to make this recipe recently. So I pulled it out of all of my mom's recipe boxes and kind of rediscovered it again. So we're going to follow this recipe directly to the letter. And we're going to start with 1 cup of brown sugar. And my mom's recipe actually says butter the size of an egg. Now I don't really know exactly what that means. She's not here to ask. So I'm going to put in about 3 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to cream it together in my KitchenAid. Kirsten, do me the honors. Always make sure you lock your mixer. And flip it on. Okay, maybe not quite that high. We want to blend the ingredients. We don't want to send the mixer to the moon. But we do want to make sure that it's creamed together and that the butter really settles into the brown sugar nicely. Now when that is done, we're going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to turn this off so you can hear me. And we want to take 2 eggs and we want to beat them together in a separate bowl before we add them in. Along with that, we're going to add half a cup of clear corn syrup. Now there's also dark corn syrup. Really stick to the white. It tastes a lot better. And that's half a cup. Now I'm just going to squeeze it in there. How you doing on beating that egg? You want to show them what it looks like when it's well beaten? Beautiful. All right. So we're going to add the 2 eggs into the mixer. Half a cup of corn syrup into the mixer. Okay, now the next ingredient we're going to add is 2 tablespoons of cream. I use whipping cream, and this is part of the ingredient that my mom always insisted we put in. So we're going to pour 2 tablespoons, there's 1, into the mixer, and 2 into the mixer. All right. Now we're going to add also some vanilla, and I usually just kind of give it a once over, give it an eye, and try to figure out how much to put in. Maybe I'll do this part. But always make sure you use pure vanilla. It really makes a difference in how your food tastes, and it's just not worth the difference in price. After we add that in, we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is about this one. You just dip it in there. All right, give that a good once over in the mixer for me. Now the only other ingredient that has to go in here is walnuts. You can use walnuts, you can use pecans, it depends on what you're partial to. The actual recipe of my mom's though calls for walnuts, so we're going to use walnuts. You can get the really tiny pieces, you can get the chopped walnuts. If you get whole walnuts though, you're going to want to chop them up just a little bit so that you're not dealing with huge chunks. And I have some whole walnuts here, so I'm going to chop a couple. And then we're also going to put the ones that we've already got in there in. Once everything is creamed, and if you take a look at that, you can see that it's all nice and creamy, that the butter is well mixed, and it looks a little bit like soup, actually. That's when you know you're at the right consistency. We're going to put this back in, we're going to lock it, and we're going to throw our walnuts in. Now you put that whole bag in for me, Kirsten, and I'll throw these pieces. Now, like I said before, I did use some pre-made shells. You can make the pastry from scratch if you want to. I'm a mother of 4, a grandmother of 3. I've got a full-time job, a business on the side, and I take care of my dad. I don't have time to make pastry shells from scratch, and chances are you don't either. So these look great. They're easy to make, and they're fantabulous. So we're going to mix all this up, get our walnuts all mixed. There we go. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a little bit, just enough to mix all the ingredients. Now, there is no easy way to get this out of here. I'm just going to use a little mixing cup so that it's easier for Kirsten. And we're just going to scoop a little in. Put a little bit in our shell. Don't fill them too high. About 3/4 of the way is good, if you'll finish doing that for me. Now these butter tarts you're going to cook at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. But you're going to know when they're done when the pastry on the edges starts to turn golden brown and your pecans or your walnuts are going to get nice and dark in color. That's all there is to this. It's super easy. So once she's done filling these, we'll pop them in the oven. I'll pull them out and I'll show you what they look like. We're back, and it's been about 15 minutes. Kirsten's been entertaining us while we waited for the tarts to finish, and they are just about done. They're gorgeous, golden brown, and chock full of nuts. So what I'm going to do real quick is just pop them out of the containers, put them over here to cool, and I'd give them about 10 or 15 minutes on a tray to set. When they're done, they're ready to eat, and they're delicious. Thanks, Mom, for the recipe, and we'll see you guys next time on
MeMaw's Kitchen.
Bye.